Hello and welcome. From Depression-era lunch counters to vinyl booth diners of the 1980s, America once ran on sandwiches that were thrifty, daring, and unforgettable. Recipes spread by radio ads, church cookbooks, and late-night jukebox chatter, then quietly faded as tastes, budgets, and health rules shifted. Listen close. The past still rustles under that first slice of bread. Number 1. Peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich. Born during the Great Depression, the peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich fused two cheap pantry staples into a hearty meal. In the rural South, scarce refrigeration and limited meat meant peanut butter delivered protein, while mayonnaise supplied fat, moisture, and tang that kept dry white bread from crumbling. Newspaper columns in 1933 praised the pairing as balanced, combining plant protein with the eggs and oil and mayo, and Depression-era relief agencies distributed recipes to teach thrifty nutrition. By the early 1940s, lunch counters sold the sandwich for a nickel, sometimes adding iceberg lettuce for crunch or a drizzle of honey for children. World War II service clubs included it in field manuals, recommending it for overnight marches because both spreads traveled without ice. After the war, radio jingles from Miracle Whip and Skippy pushed the combo nationwide, yet opinions stayed divided. Northern columnists mocked it as culinary heresy, while Southern church cookbooks printed dozens of riffs, from toasted tea sandwich triangles to Saturday tailgate subs. The first signs of decline appeared in the late 1970s when cholesterol warnings targeted eggs, and the 1980s low-fat movement labeled both ingredients calorie bombs. School cafeterias replaced mayo with margarine, and rising peanut allergy alerts further chilled demand. By the turn of the century, the sandwich lingered mainly in family lore and county fair nostalgia booths. Social media granted it an unexpected second life. TikTok creators post reaction videos, roughly half spit after one bite, half proclaim it tastes like nutty cheesecake. Carla Hall once served versions at a Nashville food festival, while chefs now whip smoked salt mayonnaise, spread it on toasted brioche, top it with bright pickled green tomato, and call the result Depression-era umami. Even if the dish never regains lunchbox dominance, its story captures America's talent for turning scarcity into enduring flavor. Number 2. Liverwurst and raw onion. A hungry clerk sliding onto a red vinyl stool at Woolworth's in 1947 knew exactly what comfort tasted like. The deli man slapped two flexible, seed-flecked planks of rye on the counter, cut a half-inch slab of garlicky pork liverwurst straight from its cotton netting, pressed it down so juices bled into the bread, crowned it with 4 moon-thin rings of raw yellow onion, and speared a dill pickle alongside for crunch insurance. That moment summed up why the sandwich mattered. Leverwurst, sometimes called Braunschweiger when smoked, arrived with German immigrants in the late 19th century and caught on nationwide during World War I because it used inexpensive organ meat yet delivered a buttery texture people mistook for luxury. By the 1940s, Midwestern packing plants cranked out miles of the stuff, and its high calorie count pleased war-era nutrition boards determined to keep industrial workers on their feet. The raw onion wasn't just filler. Sulfur compounds in onions slowed spoilage and covered the metallic note of cooked liver, while sharp aroma cut through the fat so each bite felt lighter than it really was. Post-war suburban kitchens, however, brought refrigerators that could showcase brighter, leaner cold cuts. Paper-thin turkey breast, rosy ham, bologna spiked with colorful olives. Television also entered the picture. Etiquette coaches like Emily Post and, later, daytime talk show dietitians framed onion breath as social kryptonite. Grocery ads reinforced the message, spotlighting odorless deli turkey or minty mouthwash, products that only made sense if onions were cast as villains. Sales data followed the chatter. Liverwurst shipments peaked in the mid-50s and slipped steadily after 1963 as households traded butcher wrap mystery tubes for branded, vacuum-sealed convenience meats. By the late 1980s, an aerobicized America measured everything in fat grams, and pork liver spread looked like a cardiac event on bread. When bottled water finally outsold Tab Cola in 1990, it symbolized a nation chasing purity. Liverwurst, redolent of barnyard nostalgia and onion fumes, didn't fit. Its last strongholds were German-American enclaves, Milwaukee corner taverns, Queens beer halls, rural Pennsylvania barns where grandfathers still smoked their own links. Ironically, the 21st century charcuterie boom has nudged liverwurst back into foodie vocabulary. Influencers arranging grazing boards whisper its flavor is close to French pâté at a fraction of the cost, and heritage pork farmers pitch nose-to-tail sustainability. Some craft breweries now pair a mini rye on Liverwurst slider with malty dunkels on tasting flights, and a Portland sandwich cart sells a throwback special that swaps raw yellow onion for quick pickled red slices to tame the aromatics. Still, ask the average supermarket manager and they'll point you to a lonely refrigerated peg, if they stock it at all. The once ubiquitous smell of fresh-cut onion mingled with deli garlic, so familiar to clerks and factory workers, now triggers either a Proustian smile or a polite nose wrinkle, depending on who's remembering. Whether the sandwich stages a full comeback rests on diners deciding that bold, unapologetic flavor matters more than meeting-ready breath and macronutrient spreadsheets. Number 3. Radish and cottage cheese. Flashback to an Eisenhower-era kitchen circa 1955. A home economics pamphlet claims that slender is glamour, and next to the black and white photo of a beaming housewife sits the recommended lunch. One slice of toasted whole grain bread, smeared with half a cup of snowy cottage cheese, and topped with coin-thin radish rounds dusted in salt and cracked pepper. Nutritionists adored the combo. Cottage cheese, essentially curd skimmed off gently soured milk, packed protein with minimal fat. Important in an age when coronary heart disease panic first grabbed headlines. Radishes, meanwhile, offered vitamin C, potassium, and a piquant bite that tricked the palate into thinking the meal was more indulgent than it was. The sandwich slotted neatly into calorie-controlled meal plans promoted by magazines like Better Homes and Gardens, and its simplicity suited busy moms juggling post-war baby booms. Yet the seeds of its downfall were already sprouting. First, cottage cheese processing innovations made curds increasingly bland. Producers chased longer shelf life and smoother texture, stripping away the tang that once paired so nicely with peppery radish. Second, the 1970s yogurt explosion, fueled by European travel fantasies and clever advertising, offered a creamy, spoonable dairy option that felt cosmopolitan and came in colorful fruit flavors. Store space devoted to cottage cheese shrank, and with it, public imagination for how to use the product. Radishes faced their own PR crisis. Despite being easy to grow, they carried a persistent, muddy aftertaste and harsh spice that kids often rejected. As global trade swelled produce aisles with sweeter bell peppers and crisp snow peas, radishes slid into the category of obligatory salad bar garnish. By the 1990s, the cottage cheese and radish sandwich survived mainly in small-town church cookbooks and dietitian memory joggers. Fast forward to the 2020s, and both ingredients enjoy surprising niche revivals, though rarely together. TikTok fitness influencers churn cottage cheese into high-protein ice cream, while farm-to-table chefs roast heirloom radishes in butter to coax sweetness. Still, the historical pairing remains obscure, except among vintage recipe bloggers who tout its 300-calorie footprint and 25 grams of protein. Culinary scientists now point out that radish glucosinolates aid liver detox, and fermented cottage cheese varieties supply probiotic cultures missing from most flavored yogurts. That science could, in theory, resell the sandwich to wellness crowds chasing gut health and reduced food waste. Practical tweaks help. Swapping plain salt for flaky sea salt, layering in micro-arugula for grassy notes, or drizzling a whisper of chili honey to bridge the radish sting and dairy creaminess. Even so, cultural momentum favors flashy superfoods. Matcha lattes and avocado toast overshadow quiet mid-century combinations. The radish and curd duo therefore lives on as a culinary time capsule, a reminder that staying power requires more than balanced macros. It demands sustained storytelling. Without glossy marketing or celebrity endorsement, the sandwich waits in the wings, ready for the next retro chic chef or social media challenge to pronounce it new again. Until then, its legacy echoes in faded recipe cards tucked between psalms and potluck notes, whispering of a post-war moment when dieting tasted like garden spice and humble curds promised a brighter figure. Number 4, olive and cream cheese. A single bite of this mid-century cocktail sandwich conjures smoky living room ashtrays, Sinatra on the hi-fi, and frosted tumblers of gin. The build was blissfully simple. Coin-sized rounds of crust-trimmed white sandwich loaf, a velvety blanket of whipped cream cheese, then a mosaic of pimento-stuffed green olives pressed in like pushpins. The briny olives cut the dairy's richness, while the cream cheese tamed the vodka martini burn. A perfect dance of salt and fat. Women's magazines praised it as 5-minute glamour, because everything came from a jar or foil pack. No stove needed. What killed it? First, the late 1960s fitness boom demonized white bread and sodium, nudging hostesses toward crudités and whole grain canapés. Second, olive prices spiked after Mediterranean crop failures, yet bargain brands tasted of metallic brine, so guests quietly left the sandwiches on their plates. By the 1980s, California-style sourdough and guacamole eclipsed cream cheese spreads entirely. Today, you'll spot the pairing only at retro bridal showers or on ironic TikTok cooking feeds where Gen Zers dare each other to eat like grandma. Still, bartenders know the combo's secret. Mash it on a toasted everything bagel, and you'll wonder why we ever let it disappear. Number 5, pineapple and Miracle Whip. Canned pineapple hit national supermarkets in the 1920s, but the 60s cemented its tiki party glow. Miracle Whip launched in Depression-era Chicago as a budget mayonnaise, paired perfectly with the syrupy rings. Both were shelf-stable, aggressively sweet, and advertised as healthful modern science. Moms drained a golden wheel, tucked it between puffy white bread slicked with the tangy spread, and packed the sandwich beside thermos Kool-Aid. Once refrigerated trucking made fresh pineapple cheap and Caesar salads nudged sugary dressings aside, the combination felt dated. Today, it resurfaces only in retro cookbooks or ironic state fair competitions. Bloggers toast it for nostalgia. Number 6, beef tongue on rye. Immigrant butchers in late 19th century New York cured beef tongues with pickling spices, then simmered them until fork tender, slicing the meat onto seeded rye slicked with nose-prickling mustard. By the post-war era, a hot tongue sandwich cost little more than a burger yet delivered iron, collagen, and beefy flavor, making it a fixture at Jewish delis, lunch wagons, and Midwestern cafes. As fast food chains trained diners to expect uniform patties, the chewy texture and two-day prep became liabilities. Rising offal prices and squeamish television chefs sealed its fate, though adventurous food trucks and taco de lengua fans keep the tradition alive. Number 7, deviled ham spread. Deviled ham dates to Civil War preservation, but the palm-sized key wind cans that crowded supermarkets in the 1950s turned it into an atomic age convenience star. Cooks mixed the pink paste with sweet pickle relish and mustard, then spread it on toast or rolled it into party pinwheels. Thrifty lunch counters stirred it into macaroni salad. Commercials bragged you could open, mix, serve in under a minute, ideal for bridge clubs or after-school snacks. When nitrate scares and artisan deli meats captivated shoppers in the 1980s, deviled ham retreated to hurricane kits, scout camps, and stubborn bachelor apartments, awaiting an ironic comeback. Number 8, banana and mayonnaise. During the Great Depression, butter cost 16 cents a pound while mayonnaise hovered near 9, so Southern families searching for calories slathered the cheaper spread on soft bread and tucked in ripe banana halves for sweetness. The combination rode post-war lunchboxes straight through the space age, boosted by ads touting it as energy for growing kids. When supermarkets burst with peanut butter choices and tropical fruits, the humble duo looked unsophisticated, yet NASCAR star Dale Earnhardt Jr. defended it on national radio, sparking viral taste tests. Polls reveal a loyal following claiming the salty-sweet mashup is unbeatable on squishy white bread. Number 9, chipped beef on toast. Creamed chipped beef on toast traces back to 19th century Pennsylvania Dutch smokehouses, but it became Army standard after the 1910 Field Ration Manual specified dried beef in white sauce for breakfast. Millions of soldiers in World War II and Korea relied on its salty calories, even while grumbling about the gluey texture. Veterans brought the recipe home, serving it over toast points or baking powder biscuits for pennies. By the 1980s, microwavable entrees and low-sodium guidelines pushed the dish off family tables, leaving it to reenactment camps, diner novelty menus near bases, and a few nostalgic cook-offs at veterans' halls. Number 10, mock ham. During the leanest Depression years, thrifty cooks grabbed the cheapest sliced bologna they could find, soaked it in beet juice brine for rosy color, scored it so it would curl like real ham, then baked it beneath a sticky brown sugar mustard glaze. When the loaf emerged, the kitchen smelled smoky, and hungry families swore they couldn't tell the difference. Church suppers served thick slabs beside pickled eggs and Jell-O salads, and wartime ration books kept the recipe alive. As meat prices fell and supermarkets stocked genuine pork, the imposter faded, yet frugal food blogs still archive the method for future cooks. Number 11, egg and olive salad. Hard-boiled eggs mashed with pimento-stuffed green olives. Mayo and a dash of paprika signaled refined thrift in 1930s America. Packed into waxed paper sandwiches, it survived unrefrigerated school mornings because vinegar in the olives acted as a preservative. Ladies' aid luncheons offered crustless triangles alongside strong tea and bridge scorecards. The 1960s cholesterol scare and the rise of factory-made tubs of plain egg salad knocked the briny upgrade off mainstream shelves. Every few years, a retro recipe TikTok sparks curiosity, but grocery store delis rarely carry the sharp, golden-flecked spread, leaving it a niche treat among nostalgic eaters. Number 12. Sardine and onion on rye. During World War II, canned sardines packed in soybean oil became a vital protein ration. Shipyard workers slapped slippery fillets onto caraway-flecked rye, piled on raw onion rings, and doused the lot with yellow mustard before rushing back to welding torches. The smell clung long after lunch whistles, yet nutritionists praised the sandwich's omega-3 punch. Post-war suburban offices introduced sterile break rooms, and co-workers complained loudly about fishy odors. Overfishing headlines, fresh seafood access, and social stigma drove the combo underground, leaving only taverns along the Great Lakes and dedicated tinned fish clubs to keep its briny legacy alive to outsiders. Number 13. Peanut butter and pickle. In the thick of the Depression, mothers discovered that a swipe of shelf-stable peanut butter topped with sliced dill could turn dry bread into a filling lunch bursting with protein, salt, sweetness, and crunch. School kids traded sticky halves on playgrounds, and minor league ball players swore the combo delivered quick energy. The post-war boom flooded pantries with sugary jams that overshadowed pickles, while late-night talk show jokes branded the sandwich sheer lunacy. A 2012 newspaper revival sparked curiosity, but viral gifs now treat it more as a dare than a beloved pantry standby, sustaining the pairing mainly for adventurous snackers. Number 14. Date nut and cream cheese. Step inside a 1940s chock-full of nuts counter, and you'd hear crackling jazz while clerks assembled this meatless marvel. Cinnamon raisin sandwich bread spread thick with whipped cream cheese folded full of diced dates and walnuts. The sweet, chewy, tangy bite powered office typists through 8-hour shifts without refrigeration. When the 1960s espresso wave rebranded coffee shops, muffins and croissants pushed sandwiches aside, and chain cafes later standardized turkey clubs. Today, only Manhattan nostalgia tours reminisce about 5-cent cups of coffee and the city that never napped, keeping the date nut classic alive in memory. Number 15. Fried brain sandwich, stockyards in 1920s. St. Louis produced more offal than steaks, so saloon cooks sliced calves' brains paper thin, dredged them in seasoned cracker crumbs, and fried them until the edges frilled like potato chips. The crispy, custard-centered medallions landed on buns with raw onion, yellow mustard, and a dill pickle spear. The dish became railworker fuel and carnival novelty, spreading into Indiana river towns. Health regulations after the 1990s bovine spongiform scare banned cow brains, forcing vendors to switch to pork. Tourist curiosity keeps a handful of cafes serving the sandwich, preserving a daring Midwestern relic. Number 16. Spam and grilled pineapple. After Hawaii's 1959 statehood, canned spam embodied modern convenience, while backyard hibachis caramelized canned pineapple rings. Islanders stacked the two on sweet rolls brushed with teriyaki, branding the sandwich a beach party staple. Mainland cookbooks borrowed the idea during the 1960s tiki craze. Suburban dads grilled it beside rum punch bowls. By the 1980s, low-sodium diets and gourmet prejudice sidelined spam, and fresh pineapple replaced its canned cousin. King's Hawaiian still markets slider kits, yet continental cafes rarely showcase the salty-sweet mashup, though surfers still swear by its fast, energy-packed punch after dawn patrols. Number 17. Peanut butter and bacon. Better Homes and Gardens called peanut butter and bacon a party sandwich in 1953, decades before Elvis added bananas. Preparation was simple. Smear warm toast with creamy peanut butter, drape on crisp bacon, fold, and pour black coffee. Smoky salt amplified nutty sweetness, fueling teenage rock and rollers and steel mill day shifters alike. By the late 1970s, cholesterol warnings sent bacon sales tumbling, and peanut butter settled into PB&J respectability. The early 2000s bacon craze briefly revived PB bacon burgers at craft beer bars, but calorie math and novelty fatigue soon pushed the pairing back to occasional late-night kitchen experiments. Number 18. Fried bologna and cheese. Across Appalachian haulers and Detroit lunch counters, thick rounds of budget bologna were notched to bloom on sizzling griddles. Cooks slapped the caramelized discs onto white bread with American cheese, letting molten edges glue everything together in neon orange nostalgia. During the 1970s, it ranked as a working-class cheesesteak, cheap, filling, comforting. Public health drives later painted bologna as sodium-laden mystery meat, while turkey and low-fat deli cuts hogged supermarket ads. Celebrity chefs toyed with artisan riffs in the 2010s, yet most home kitchens reserve fried bologna for rare camping trips or sentimental midnight snacks. Number 19. Mock chicken spread. Great Depression cooks stretched scarce meat by simmering tomatoes, onions, butter, grated cheese, and chopped eggs until the mixture thickened into a chunky sunset orange paste. Seasoned with celery salt and pepper, it mimicked the texture and mild savor of chicken when chilled and spooned onto white bread. Wartime rationing kept the recipe in community cookbooks through the 1940s. As canned tuna and affordable broilers flooded markets in the 1960s, the ersatz spread slipped into obscurity. Vegetarian bloggers resurrected occasionally as a nostalgic, budget-friendly protein, yet most modern diners have never heard its quirky name. Number 20. Fool's Gold Loaf. At Denver's Colorado Mine Company in 1976, a chef dreamt up the ultimate stunt sandwich. Hollow a full Italian loaf, butter and toast it, then fill it with an entire jar of peanut butter, an entire jar of grape jelly, and a pound of crisp bacon. Deep fried until crunchy outside and molten inside, the behemoth weighed 3 pounds and delivered roughly 8,000 calories. Elvis famously chartered his jet to collect a midnight round, cementing the sandwich's legend. After the restaurant closed in 1998, only extreme eats YouTubers recreate the monstrous, sticky relic for shock value views.